at least our next split. Don't tell me if I'm lying off here. Just give me a moment whilst I figure out what's going on. Streaming, 20 seconds, blah blah blah, total bytes. There we go, we are actually good. We are rolling. Did not mean to full screen. Yeah. How do I make this so I can see the chat? Apologies, Twitch has changed a lot since the last time I used it. That's got it. That's got it. I just had to wait for my browser to catch up. Now, is it possible to get chat on its own? Blah blah blah. I'll tell you what, whilst I'm struggling with this, I'll at least announce on Twitter that I am going. And then it's just a case of actually getting the camera set up, which I've already got the tripod ready. I just need to open up an app and get some bits rolling. But in the meantime, let's pop this on. Hopefully that's not too loud. And get the webcam on. I think that is a little too loud. Right, that's a bit better. And just gotta wait for my webcam to do its thing. Oh, don't do this to me again. Technology. We're running a little later than I wanted to start today, but that was just because some other bits and bobs came up and caused havoc. Well, caused havoc, just a slight delay. Is the music? Oh, the music isn't going to be playing, is it? I think. Maybe. I can't tell. No, it doesn't look like it is. I can't win. Alright. Right, just gonna have to briefly, I think, disconnect and reconnect just to get the webcam rolling. Just be a moment. That did it. That did it straight away. Okay. Sweet, in that case then, get that in the tripod. I still don't know if the music's actually playing or not, you know. Tell you what, I can switch over to this. As you can see, you now have a perfectly fine image of my desk. And all the other nonsense I've got going on here. I think I know what I need to do. No, not that. This is just to get some music so it isn't just dead air. I will want screen capture, window capture. I think that'll do it. Yeah, ignore the fact that it's twice this. Can minimize that, and I think, does that have the music playing? I don't know. Or can I be? Am I the only one hearing this right now? I don't know. Hold on a moment. Minimize that, and I think, does that have the music playing? I don't know. Can confirm it doesn't. Alright, wonderful. Superficial things getting in the way. Let's be a moment again. I don't want this music just to be for myself. I just don't want it to be boring. You know, because there might be just a little bit of dead air. I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna just plainly say that. We're managed to catch a window capture. You think a window capture would add the music, but who knows? I apparently don't. Wahoo! I tell you, let's just stop the music now because I can't hear a lick of it. I'll just got to figure that out. Or if someone would kindly provide a tip. No music. Yeah, I've got that confirmed by a friend on Facebook. I don't know how to do this. I tell you what, let's just get this angled. You can talk us through what we're going to be doing. I will also need to minimize this, otherwise that's just going to be in the corner. There we go. So, without too much hassle-dassle. As you can see, I've got my wet palette ready. Not the colours yet, but on this fine sunny evening, which is going to last maybe approximately a couple more hours, I'm going to have to switch to some artificial lights. We have, as you can see, there we go, in the bottom left corner, yes, high CPU usage is detected. It's because I'm doing things. Maybe if I close Discord too. I don't leave that open. But yeah, we have, I think it was Gorpaz's Gitstompa, basically the Christmas orc that Games Workshop came out with last holiday season. Let me get some of these lights on too, because if we're going to be losing natural light, I don't want to lose too much to the darkness. And make sure the camera is somewhere where it is going to be at least marginally comfortable. As you can tell, I have no idea what I'm doing, which is just what you want to hear, isn't it? I mean, I know what I'm doing when I'm painting, typically. Just when I first kick at streaming it, but yeah, here he is. Just a typical orc knob, slugger, chopper. He's got his foot stood on a little cart of bullets there. Other than that, not much amazingly special. I do have the grot that he came with over here as well. I believe he's called Nickit, after the the grot. And I think there's a comic that goes on the Warhammer community page that does have a grot called Nickit. Don't know if it's the same one. Don't know if it's just a coincidence. It's certainly not the same orc as in that comic, because I believe this guy is based off of an old piece of Necromunda art. No, not Necromunda, Gorka Morka artwork. I believe they put that up on the community page way back when they were previewing this guy. Let me see, can I put this up in a way that means I can see? Does that eat up my CPU? A little bit, but not awfully so. It's certainly here the playback on Twitch. Or is that just my camera being shit? We'll find out. It looks like it's the camera. Is it when XSplit isn't? I think it's just because XSplit's having to share. And XSplit isn't a fan of doing that. What is going on? Hold on. Something is going awfully wacky. We've not got any drop frames, but I think this is more of the camera to do with the camera than anything specific. Tell you what, I can get rid of that and that. See as. What is going on? Oh, this is usually pretty good. Right, there we go. It's caught off. What nonsense. But yeah, gonna get a start on this guy. Mostly it's just like a thing that could be nice to paint on stream. something simple. I don't play orcs. I haven't played orcs in a while. Actually, I think is the more honest way to put it. I used to have like an old orc army back 5th, 6th edition, and they were a hassle. A lot of boys, both in terms of like painting and playing them. Just a lot of models to paint, to move about. It turned into a hassle. So I just did what everyone else did and just started playing Space Marines. Though I do like the idea of getting back to orcs at some point. It's just going to be a different kind of list. Fewer boys, more the trucks, the vehicles, the funny race cars that they got last update. So tell you what, it's an orc. He's green. Let's start with some green. For that, I think we are just going to go, if I don't knock a light with, just some Noir Flash. Don't know how amazingly that's showing on camera, especially now that I knocked a light. There we go. I believe that's a bit better. And not going to be too precious about it. I'm going to get my water pot moved and ready. Knock the lid onto the floor as is natural. Just going to give this a bit of a shake. This is a bit of an old paint. It is a bit, well, yeah, what you expect from a old GW pot. But, well, I know what you can do. I just can't be arsed. I'm just going to get that on the palette just to make sure it stays wet, because it is a nice warm day, and honestly, I kind of wanted to say that way. We are starting to get through April, starting to get close to May, which, those who don't know, is when my birthday happens. I'm just going to knock shit over one day full, and I'm going to get started. So I'm just going to start, I think, somewhere a bit more noticeable. Just get some of the green on his arm. That's the fun thing I kind of miss and don't miss with painting orcs. It's so like green is just kind of a fun colour, despite all the sort of memes people make from, I think, what was it? Don't hug me, I'm scared. You can do some fun things with just greens, mossy greens, sort of dirty greens, limey, just also like the different tones you can get. And because we have it on a wet palette, it is going to take a little longer to dry each layer, but we will get there. Like, I'm going to paint his whole arm with one layer, and then move over to his other arm. I've got his face, back of his neck. He's got his tummy out, which kind of funny that they gave him just a big old paunch instead of like abs like you would typically expect. It looks like I'm getting some issues again with the camera. That's not a major issue, I think. I might have to actually look into getting a proper camera set up for this rather than just my phone and an app, which is a bit of a bummer. Still, we'll get there. I don't know, is it... Because how this app works is it's currently actually sort of beaming the feed from my phone camera to my laptop through my internet connection. So I don't know if where the issue is currently. What is my signal like? It's looking alright according to at least the bars I've got on the top of my phone. Well, what can you do? It's going to go a bit more green because I thought I got more than I did. I'm also going to knock everything on the way. A bit more than that. That should do that. Right. No, this has so far been a disaster. Oh my word. I tell you what, I think, honestly, it is probably because I'm streaming and using... I don't need Twitch itself open, do I? Let us cut down on my bandwidth usage, eh? I can't really see chat right now. I need to figure something out for that, but whatever, we will get there. That should hopefully sort it. Yes, I know. I closed Firefox. That was the idea. And hopefully that helps out a little bit in the long term. Let us get a start on his chest. Just get it out of the way. Thankfully, raw flesh is decent in terms of its coverage. Not that you can see, again, right now, what is going on. GPU, CPU, memory. Has it caught up? No, still catching up. What is going on? Is it just the wrong time of day that I've picked? Because this, honestly, this does not look good. Like, my hand isn't even on the model right now, but that's certainly what's been broadcast to you lot. I need to look into a proper webcam, don't I? I keep complaining about this, but hold on. Yeah, I'm not dropping any frames. This is what I get for just going into this without experimenting. Oh. You see, now it's fine. For some reason, now it's fine. I don't know. That's actually really bugging me. I might have to look into getting a proper workout. But yeah, I've got a start of a layer on his tummy already. A bit on his arm. Need to get the top of that on there. Then I can just get right behind there for his neck. Oop, we can't even see that. Oh, it's not like it's super easy to see. But yeah, behind his neck. I am just going to cover his whole face. You know, no sanctity for like teeth or gums. Just going to get it all in there. And there's a little bit of spilled water on my arm now, which is distracting. Let's get that here. I might just do this for about an hour as a test run, because obviously I am finding issues with this current setup, especially actually keeping things on camera, it seems. Yeah, just get that second layer on the arm. Let's actually get some paint on that hand. He's got big old fingers. And considering most of that gun is going to be metallic, it's not really a huge issue if I get some of it on the gun. And then just get a little bit of second layer on his arm there. Yeah, okay. Let's get his underpit, because that's looking a little pale. Can still see some of the zenithal I did, because I know he's looking a bit black and white in places, which could actually, I have thought a few times when I was getting ready to do this, could be a good look for an army in and of itself. Just a black primer, white zenithal, bright zenithal being, for those who don't know, just spraying from above with a white can after spraying it with black, then dry brushing it all over with white paint, black wash, and that, where he's not green, is just what a model looks like after that, which honestly isn't half bad. Though would only work with some armies, I imagine. Okay. Apparently I would need to get a bot sorted out on Twitch in order to be playing music, which, good to know for next time. Thank you. I'll refer to you by your username rather than the name you have on Facebook, Pixelate, for getting me in on that information. I am very much a newbie when it comes to doing things that aren't a video game. Only streaming them. I honestly paint more when I play games nowadays. Not even nowadays. Just in general. There's about a year-old stream on this channel that's probably still saved as a VOD. We trying to play some Magic the Gathering, which went alright. The games themselves I could have done better in. I still play that same deck that I was playing on those streams a year ago. But that deck has since then done a lot better. We're not here for Magic, we're here for Orc. We're here for Gitstompa here. Well, thinking about it, I do have that image in the bottom left is the official paint job. It's what you would see if you ordered them off of the web store over Christmas. And as much as I do like the heavy metal painting style, obviously, like most people who started with Warhammer painting, it's sort of where you started. It was the benchmark that everyone first got introduced to and sort of aspired for. But there's more than one way to paint the skin of an orc, shall we say. And I do have... Well, I say it's an experiment. So I painted Gazgul. Was it last year? Like the new one, when he came out with that box set with Ragnar Blackmane. And I honestly, despite the fact I've not played orcs in years, I have just a huge soft spot for huge, big orcs with big, clunky armour. Like, I've got a small collection of orcs from newer models, despite the fact that I've not played them in years. I see it. I've got a Shock Attack Big Mech, Gazgul, a War Boss, just a normal mech, one of the Dragsters, and I think it's the War Trike. The thing that basically they did instead of giving us a War Boss on a bike. Just things I just wanted to put together and paint just because it looked a lot of fun. I might show the guys in a sec when I actually get to the weird part of the skin, just to show what it looks like, just to, as a proof of concept rather than, hey, look at me, I'm about to do something weird for painting orc skin. Let's get the rest of his hand green. I'm still getting used to wet palette as well. I've been painting for about, well, this month approaching 11 years now, but I think about it, that's a bit scary. Shows how long you've been going for. And where was I going with this? I forgot the point I was going to make. Camera seems to be behaving though. Having to close Twitch whilst the pain has made the stream actually watchable, it would appear. So I'll take that. I'll absolutely take that. But yeah, we've got his skin base coated. Might just get a little bit more, yeah, on the back of his neck, on his hunch there. And I think lighting here is a bit strong right now, isn't it? My hand does keep blocking this light I've got off to the side, which I think is part of it. So if I just move it a little over, does that help? Shadows are still a bit strong. Hold on. If you don't mind me learning as I go. Part of the shadow is the phone, actually, that I'm using to broadcast off of. Well, that looks better. That looks a lot better. Does that help? That literally... that just makes the paint pot in the background a bit lighter. Wonderful. Very useful. But yeah, we have got his skin based. Still drying in a few places. So what I'm going to do next is... let's see, he's got a black leather coat, which I do like, that I'm going to probably keep. Black boots, brown trousers, red tassels. I do want a little bit more red, because if I do start up an orc army again, I want evil sons. In fact, that was the point I was going to make. I was going to show you that. I'm going to show you actually what I plan on doing with the skin, because I'm not going to do a typical like base wash highlights, like in the typical not heavy metal style, but how they teach it on the web page. So here is the Gazgul. Quite happy with how he came out, but I don't know how well it's going to show on the camera. Not at that angle, but you might be able to see. I'm going to take the iron drawer off because I didn't glue it on for a reason. There is just a little bit of pink to his skin. How I did that is, it's not going to be the next step because I'm still waiting for the skin to dry, but it is actually just some really watered down Screamer Pink. I basically watered that down. I did kind of use it as a wash, but instead of it being an all-over wash, I'm going to put it to the side because I want to use it later. It's going to Gazgul out of the way. Instead of a normal wash where it's like, oh, this is the green thing that I want to be skin, hit it all with the same wash, I left the war flesh in a good chunk of places, but the Screamer Pink is actually where I'm going to use as a wash, sort of like as that deepest quote-unquote shade, for some of the warmer, pinkier parts. Like, if you look at a face, it's not just one flat skin tone. Cheeks around the eyes, around the mouth especially, are all, at least on Caucasian skin, a little bit pinker. just because there's more blood around those areas, and when you're pale, especially bloody like me, blood shows through a little bit more. Now I know it's a bit of a point of contention whether or not orcs have red or green blood. I don't give a damn. If it makes him look more alive, he's going to be pink in places. So I'm probably going to do that. Like I say, I'm going to do it around the mouth just because it also paints the gums at the same time, even if they aren't showing up. There is a vein on his arm that I'm probably going to hit with it. Elbows, probably around his belly button, just sort of like, honestly that just more to emphasise the fact that he has a belly button, which I just find kind of funny. Again, orcs, they typically just run around with freaking six-packs on. This guy's got a tummy. This guy's been drinking his grog. So yeah, next I am going to go with the black of his leather. And that is going to be actually one of my newer of the newer paints, one of my favourites is Corvus Black. It's not showing up there. Rather than a Baden Black, I don't want to just hit it with the darkest colour that I have. So I'm going to hit it with this, which is more like a really dark grey, if you can't see from like the extra paint I've got on the paint lid there. That way, I can either hit it with some Baden Black, maybe some Null Oil, or even Black Templar, just to add some shading to the black. So the majority of them is going to be fairly grey, but it means I can actually go darker for my recesses. Just get the paintbrush washed off, pop it there. And let's get a start on that leather. I'm just going to paint the coat for now. I might do the boots brown. Actually, no. Yeah, red trousers, brown boots. See how that looks. I'm just going to start on his back just because it's the biggest, flattest area. Let's get this as an angle that you can actually see anything. So, this is harder than it looks. Credit to all the painting YouTubers out there who paint with a camera between them and the model for a living. I cannot imagine how tricky and difficult that must be. Right, I'll do that helps with the light a little bit. It's already starting to get a little darker outside. We will probably have to switch to artificial lights. Either that or just let the darkness consume us. That's what's happened this entire lockdown, hasn't it? This, just going to get the main bulk and then slow down a little bit for the edges. Because there is a little bit of a lip to the leather. So like form that layer above his actual body. Just because, you know, that's how clothes work. Crazy enough. And then just gonna go around there. Just got that shoulder plate, not plate, strap. That is something I need to get better as I will eventually just mince all of my words off. And thankfully, even over this Xenophil, this actually covers a lot better than I expected it to. Baden Black has a bit of a rep, sort of like, because the previous Games Workshop Citadel line, it did, the black for that line, I actually forget the name, I think it was just Chaos Black, actually did have some really nice coverage. And of course, getting a part of that stuff nowadays, after, God, 10 years almost? 9-10 years since the paint line switched over to this new colour range. Yeah, good luck. I know people do paint with the old, really old paints from like the 80s and the 90s sometimes, or at least try to match them. Honestly, that's something that's always seemed insane to me. It's like, good on you for sticking to an aesthetic so hard, but at the same time, it sounds like a lot of effort. I know Midwinter Minis recently just put up a video of him painting Space Wolves, like in that 90s heavy metal style, and just watching that, you see how much of an effort it was. Like white primer, light, bright, pastel colours, and then really dark blacks and things like that. He's knocked the light off. These things are touch sensitive. But yeah, seeing just how much effort had to go into that makes me thankful, at least a little bit, just to kind of easy we have it nowadays in terms of paints. I think if I was a kid in the 90s, well, I was a kid in the 90s, but if I was trying to paint Warhammer in the 90s as a kid, I would have given up so quickly. Like, doing this taught me patience. I'm getting a little bit of black on the skin, so we'll sort of cover that up. Or do we have to? Because that is probably we'll cover it up just for the sake of having it correct. There we go. Just need to do the other side of the jacket and then maybe hit it with another layer in a few places. Yeah, I cannot see myself, as I was as a kid, having the patience for this. Because I was a very impatient child. Granted, kids in general are a bit more impatient. 10 minutes as a kid is a lot longer as 10 minutes as an adult, but even then I feel like I was a bit more impatient than some. But this isn't life lessons with Dork painting orc, this is Dork painting orc. You don't need my life story. As much as it fills the dead air that will eventually hit, probably, because I am very new to streaming. Hopefully you can see. As you can see, I am very new to streaming as I show you absolutely zip of what I am doing. You know what? Let's move that. There, hopefully that lights it a bit more evenly. There's some really deep recesses on this that might be a bit difficult to see when it comes to painting them. And if that is the case, I mean, I do apologise, but at the same time, some of these things, there's not much I at least know how to fix it. Just get another layer. It's mostly on the flat, broad part, it seems, where the paint isn't covering as much, so we're spreading out a little bit. But I think, down there, that is our leather jacket done. He does have this. That is the same colour as his leather in the show model, actually. So that might actually just be a really long coat that he's like torn the sleeves off. I'll tell you what, it's somewhere flat and broad. I can do it quickly with a larger brush. So many brushes, so little space. I don't know how long I actually intend on doing this. We've been at this so far for half an hour, and so far I put down 2 whole colours. As you can tell, I am not a speed painter. I used to be really fast. I also used to be really bad. So, you can see the trade-off there. I'm still not amazing now, despite what other people might say. But what I would say in rebuttal to that is, I know how high the skill ceiling is in this hobby. And oh boy, am I on the 2nd floor when other people are at the top of the Empire State Building. Don't mean to talk myself down, it's just I'm being realistic about my ability. Like, I know I'm decent, I'm certainly above average than, say, I don't know, good old Dave down at your local LGS or what have you. I don't know, Dave might be really good, I've never met the guy. But you know what I mean. I am willing to back up the fact that I at least try with my painting by just grabbing random models that I have. Oh yeah, this is going on much smoother now with a larger brush. I should have just done that quicker. Yeah. Just top up some of the bits out the front, because we can aim with that. Yeah, those are bits of his jacket folding into his belt there. Doesn't matter if the trousers get a bit dark, though. Going to be a darkish colour anyway. Right, there we go. So now we have another of his jacket base. Tell you what, we'll do this for a couple of hours. I'll put it aside. I might experiment getting this sorted later on in the week, and then come back at this next week with something else. Like I say, so 2 colours based. Where do I want to go next? Go for his trousers, go for his boots, could start maybe getting some browns on. I could just grab the red for his trousers now. Where do I want to go next? Tell you what, black is still drying in some areas, so let us get the brown for our leathers. I know we're doing all the interesting colours at the start, aren't we? Blacks and browns and a little bit of green. We'll get to the bright, garish stuff later. Which brown? Do I want a desaturated? Do I want a warm brown? It is an orc. I am in that awkward situation where I have too many browns. Let us go. Oop. With knocking a light over, apparently. There we go. With Mornfang. Yeah, I'm looking at Mornfang brown. Just a nice rich brown. Very close to sort of like a chocolatey colour. Do that for a lot of the bases of our leathers. This looks really nice with a bit of a wash. And honestly, some of the sort of like more olivey paint tones really good for highlighting leather. Granted, it makes sense. Leather is skin, sort of, you know, tanned and dried and whatever else you do for leather. As you can tell, I don't know a bloody thing about that sort of thing. Let us start. I want that bracelet to be red, actually. I think that'd be a nice contrast against the green skin. Let's go with the pistol holster. That is way too small for his actual pistol. I mean, look at the size of that thing compared to the brush. Yeah, physics. Same thing on Space Marines, actually. It's like no holster out there, except for maybe some of the ones from Indomitus that are just absolutely humongous. Seem to be big enough for the pistols they actually hold. I suppose that's a funny detail. Man, it's just a lot of the scale for 40k models in general just doesn't make sense after a little while. Vehicles and aircraft especially. That's probably why like they came up with Primaris Marines, as much as a lot of people seem to dislike them. The Marines that are actually in scale with other human models. You put a Primaris against the Imperial Guardsman or a Tower, he's a full like 2 heads taller than him. It's like, oh, Space Marines are actually big, aren't they? Oh my, this awkward angle just getting the front of his holster. In fact, you know, there's a lot to say about the recent direction Games Workshop's gone in for their models. A lot of it I quite like. Like it's more my aesthetic. As much as I do like the grim dark, I do also like bright and colourful. I'll, as long as you know it's done well, I can enjoy it. And when you paint bright and colourful, and something like say Age of Sigmar has gone from just like fantasy but a bit dirtier to just. When I say high fantasy, I don't mean Lord of the Rings. High fantasy, I mean like, you know, magic spells flying everywhere, bright colours. High as in like high concept, rather than just swords and sorcery, typical stuff. But yeah, that's actually gone on fairly well. The recording has stopped. Please make. Oh, okay. Well, Twitch VOD will be fine. That's probably going to save us a lot of the CPU. What else do I want? Brown. Probably his boots. And maybe the straps around this wrist here. I do also see that I've got a little bit of the ball of his hand that I have missed with the green. But with that, we have his wrist strap brown. This is actually covering fairly well. I thought it'd be at least a couple of coats with how watered down this paint's had to be. And then just get a start. So what you can actually see on this boot. I might need to grab some more from the pot. That's a given. Probably going to keep this fluff white, because I think it makes a nice contrast of all the dark saturated colours. To have a nice white as a spot colour too, make them stand out a bit more. Sort of emphasises how fluffy it is too, which I think is neat. There's a lot of things I think are neat, a lot of really superficial silly things, but I know what I like. Honestly, I've just been surprised being able to keep talking. I don't talk to myself much whilst I'm painting, but here we are. Me talking to myself. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it crazy? There we go. That's actually going on fairly well, yeah. Might be a little out of light there. Yeah, it has actually gone dark fairly quick outside. It's going to get a bit dim in my room. You just can't tell because I actually do have some light set up at least, even if it's not great light. The repair 20 quid lights, LED lights from Hobbycraft. Like, they're doing the job. I might have had to crack one open and get my dad to attack with a soldering iron because one of the joins had broken, but 20 quid and a couple seconds of someone else's effort and it works and it does its job, so I can't complain too much. Yeah, that's actually looking fairly alright. Yeah, is that all the brown we want? The hat, he does have the ear flaps. I might do the ear flaps brown because the top of the head looks like it is like a metallic actual helmet, but these are obviously soft with how they're flapping about, and it does look a bit different. Like, it'll help frame and show some of the difference between these different surfaces and textures. I am struggling to keep this in focus, but I do spin my models around a lot when I paint. Yeah, looking better. I think we can move on to the trousers next. And this is my typical workflow. I do go each base coat and then sort out the niggly things. Because if you overpaint onto an area you didn't want to get a colour on, it's just a bit easier to fix. Just give me a brief moment whilst I just grab a sip of a drink, because I've been talking for 40 minutes straight. I'm not very used to that. I'm used to just being a mute in my own room. There we go. Oh, low disk space. I think that is just because of the recording. Twitch has no problem saving VODs. I'll just set this thing to not record later on. So, red on an orc. Do I want to go letterbox red or just want a dingier red? I feel like if I did go with too saturated red, I would be drawing a lot of attention to his legs, which would be weird. So let us start. I think corn red. Yeah. Yep. Start off with that. Get that on his legs and that wristband too. Just move this. I am actually struggling for space. This is a little cramped. And I might be a bit of a contortionist, but mainly in my legs. Yeah, bit of corn red. Nice, deep. Not quite a burgundy. I could have gone with a burgundy if I wanted to, but that looks fine. Let's get that on the palette, spread it about a little bit. Yeah, let's just get on with the legs. This one might take a couple of coats. Reds and yellows in general just do not have the best coverage, but my Zenithal does seem to be doing a little bit to make this a little easier. I do need to figure this out, because I do remember there being a feature where you could take the Twitch chat and pop it out as a separate window. I don't see how to do that at the moment. I know I've only got one viewer at the moment, which is probably good old Pixel. But it would be nice to know if people did started popping up to chat. You know what I mean? Oh well. Let's get that border between his thigh and the fluff at the top of his shoes. Does that have a name? I wonder if it has a name. This is the awkward part where I have to try and paint his ass. He does have one. No one's going to see this, but I'll know it's been done. Good old Pirate Orcast. I do realise actually the fluff next to the red trousers does give him a little bit of a Santa Claus vibe. I'm not going to complain actually. The idea of some sort of Santa orc is Fucking funny. I did see someone take Logan Grimnar's wolf-pulled chariot, swap it out with some of the old wood elf deers, and Logan Grimnar, being a big old beardy space wolf himself, not very difficult to make him look like Santa Claus. I think I remember seeing it at was it the Bradford Games Workshop? I know it was done by an employee of one of the brick and mortar stores. Don't remember which one. I might just be associating it with Bradford because I was at uni at the time. It wasn't long after that model came out. But I'm sure the information is out there. Probably on Facebook. And I do not feel like plumbing the depths of Facebook for minor information. I barely use it for anything other than just blabbing to people that I know in my local circle. It's fairly quiet elsewhere. And I'm losing light here. Yeah, this is a bit of a funny look. Painting is hard enough. Painting to make sure this imaginary little electronic box can see what I'm doing is something else. Right, let's make sure its cheek has got some coverage. I don't need this to be amazing coverage, to be fair. I just need it to look red. There we go. I washed my brushes. I realised I was going to do the wristband too. I should probably do the strap in that brown, because he has got like a strap and a buckle on the inside of his wrist there. Don't know if it's showing too well, but hey. And the orc skull on the back of his jacket. I'm probably just going to do white, and I don't mind if I cover the spikes with this red, because Lead Belcher ain't... Oh, even Iron Warriors actually might be a bit better of a colour choice. You're going to have a difficult time covering this. There we go. Let's get the edge. There we go. I might actually have to go switch on actual room lights in a moment. The sun doesn't set incredibly fast here, but when it's gone, it is gone. Been feeling that over winter. Just get that. I know you can't see it too well. I am going to go fix that actually. At the very least, it's going to make things easier for me to see. So just be a quick second while I untread myself from this. That's marginally better. I can see a difference on the screen at least. Whether or not you guys at home can is a different matter. Hold on. There we go. I feel like an old man. I am an old man. So I'm not. Right. So, red is drying. Might need a second coat. But in the meantime, we can think about where we want to go next. I'm going to save the white till last. Just because fixing any mistakes with white takes the absolute longest. Details I'll save after we've done everything else. Might just get a start on the metallics. Yeah, I'll go with Iron Warrior. It's a nice, deep, metallic. I absolutely love this colour. Like, I like Lead Belcher. But this is just nice, and it's dark, but it's not super dark, if you get me. And I'm not going to use the palette for this, mostly because I don't want to risk getting any metallic flakes in the sponge itself, which would mean I'd risk getting metallic pigment in everything else. So I am just going to start here, just with the cap of his boot. Zorks seem to like having steel-toed cap. Yeah, steel-toe caps. Words are hard. Words are very hard. I might have stolen that phrase from a pair of YouTubers called Evan and Caitlin. They're fun to watch. They're innocent. Well, they'll occasionally make a dirty joke, but they're fun to watch. If you like resin artwork or just like weird experiments with that sort of thing, I'd recommend them. They recently made custom keycaps for their keyboards that sort of look like galaxy sparkly stuff with little like planets floating in them, which looked really cool. I'd almost say I'd want to do the same if I actually had something other than a laptop. Yeah, I'll go with the piss. No, the knife next. Just take a nice flat area. You see how much I like this. Well, possibly why I like this paint. It just goes on. Goes on smooth. Goes on in basically one coat, and it's a nice deep colour. But it just looks nice overall. There we go. Like it's a bit darker than Lead Belcher, so what you can actually paint this to a pretty bright like edge highlight without having to use any washes. I would always recommend using washes for metallics myself, just because like it's nice to get that contrast between like a metallic finish and a matte varnish. Well, not a matte wash. Really helps sell the sharpness of anything metallic. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the because they came out with some of those gloss washes. I think it was a bit over a year ago. It was like I didn't see the point. Like if I'm washing a metallic, the wash is meant to be the dark parts of the metallic. Why would it be shiny? You know. Like maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's like an aesthetic thing that people like where everything all over the metal is shiny. But like if you're not using the wash as like a final layer on your metallic, you don't need to bother getting a gloss wash. Just keep to what you have, a brown or a black. Maybe a blue if you wanted something to look like a polished silver. And you're golden. Let's get the cap of his helmet. Just to get a nice simple shape. Yeah. Plus it's just like the joy of metallics where it's this whole like how the light reflects, like the specular sort of aspect to it, really helps sell the shape of something. Granted, there's a double-edged sword where sometimes you can cheat with your typical paints to make things look a bit deeper or to make details look a bit sharper than they actually are. You can't really get away with that as well with metallics. But if you don't have anything that you need to exaggerate, you can absolutely sell the shape of something without too much effort. And I really enjoy that, because I am lazy. Just get this shoulder pad, I do want that to be silver. I don't know about the strap on the show model is brassy, so I might just keep to that. Make it look like two different materials to help sell the fact that it's two different layers. And really wet my brush a little bit. It's starting to get a little tacky. There we go. Yeah. I will just hit it with a layer of the silver because then it will just make the brass a little easier to pop through. And considering we do have it right next to the black leather, I could just hit these both with a black wash at the same time. That's something that would save a little bit of effort. Because I was thinking of going for the whole rigmarole of trying to make a really sort of like punchy, leathery, shiny black. Something I've not really been good at before, but could certainly give a whack at. But I'll experiment on my own time, let's put it that way. Get the ring that's used on this tooth. We'll have to come in with like a light bone colour for the... He's got a skull on the back of his jacket, he's got his teeth, he's got his fingernails. I know for some reason they did the fingernails green on the heavy metal one down there. Let's stick them up. But I don't know, I think it looks better when the fingernails are pale. It just helps. It's just an extra bit of higher contrast, really. That's it for me. Like, there's a bit of a greeny tealiness to those, but I don't know. I prefer to contrast in more than just the hue. Let's get that musty old pistol too. Thankfully, Orc technology is it's either a pile of junk or a box, which makes thinking about it relatively simple. It's not like, say, Eldol or Tau, where you've got all these curved surfaces and things like that, which would make anything other than just a simple paint job a little bit of a hassle. Sharp edges, simple shapes, those are the easiest. It's probably the entire ethos behind the mechanical designs with the Imperium. That a lot of that is just boxes, from the good old Thunderhawk to Storm Raven to your Lehman Russ to Sentinels to Space Marine armor. I know Space Marine armor has a lot of curved surfaces, but like when it's smaller, you can get away with a little bit less contrast, or at least simpler paint jobs for that contrast. There's a line I heard, I forget who said it ages ago, where like, painting a Space Marine to look decent is easy. Easier than average. Painting a Space Marine to look good is a lot harder than most things. I'm sure there's a more snappy way to say that, but it gets my point across. And I notice, the ball of his hand, I think I mentioned that earlier. Let's get the bottom of my handle here. I'm going to have to spill over a little bit onto the green to get that, because I am not being too accurate today. I've already got some on the back of a knuckle there, but it's going to be an easy fix. Yeah, you know what, this has gone fairly quickly in terms of basing. Here we are, just under an hour in, and it's something. Oh, this is why I stopped playing orcs. Painting an orc, to use the adage that was mentioned earlier, to a decent standard is a lot harder than painting a Space Marine to a decent standard, because a Space Marine is 90% one colour. Well, this guy, he's got his skin, his leather, his metal, his cloth, his other bits and doodads, and they're all different colours. There's teeth, there's fingernails, there's skulls. There's always skulls. Where to next? I feel like I should have hit those with the leather colour. Maybe. I might hit those, never hit them with the same red, it'll just become a sea of red. You know what? Strap. Yeah, look at that. And the wrist strap with the brown. Is this still good on here? A little bit. There's not much of it. Just top that up. There we go. A little bit more Mornfang. And we'll get right back onto it. There we go. I still really do like this colour. It's always been the first brown I go to. First brown I got, or a similar one when I started painting, and now I use it more than ever. As boring of a colour brown is, it's on its own, it's really good for like punching up other colours. Like having a decent brown next to a nice, bright, saturated tone really just... again, it is that contrast thing. But it's a contrast of like a dingy colour that's not as exciting next to something a bit more vibrant and eye-catching. So it helps it peak a bit more, but also just like... it also grounds it a little bit, I think is the right way to put it. Like, here's this realistic, earthy tone that you would expect to see in real life next to just whatever else it is that you're painting. He does have his actual belt under there. There we go. I'm probably going to paint that skull the same white as in the show model. I think that white spot right in the centre of the model in amongst all these different colours would really look nice. I mean, it looks nice on that, which is why I'm thinking it. Anything that needs touching up right now, other than his skin, maybe? Not quite yet. I'll do touch-ups at the end. Do I want to go to the lighter colours now? Yeah. Or do we get more of like a brassy bronze colour down? Brassy bronze. For that, right, try to hear something a bit awkward sounding. Yeah, just some Retributor armour. Nice yellow gold colour. Makes a good base for brasses and other things. Gotta do that on this little fist emblem he's got down here. Realise I should have painted the chain. Going from the, I suppose you can call it the pommel of his knife. I'm sure that isn't a bit too thick. Yeah, it's not in focus now. Yeah, the metallic really helps show off some of the surface texture there. It is made to look like a little fist. At the back, which doesn't look like the back of a fist, it just looks like another, the same fist. Also consider this an example of why you get a painting handle, because doing this without it would be so much harder. I am so glad I got this. This entire past year, with all the spare time we've all had, has really given me a time to sort of like evaluate just a little gadgets and gizmos and other little helpful things to just really help make this process so much easier. Like the wet palette especially. 10 years without using one of these, and I switched to one and instantly I get it. I always thought it was a bit of a gimmick, it's like, oh yeah, it keeps your paint wet, whatever. But it's like, the amount of effort saved, like you're seeing how often I'm having to go back for the metallic colours. Having to do that with every colour made painting feel like, I enjoy painting, that's why I'm bloody streaming it, but it made it feel like more of a chore than it had to be. And realising that just made me realise, oh, okay, I'm just going to sing and preach about this as if it were a god. Because goodness gracious, is it night and day. Now, if anything, it just makes metallics a little less appealing for me, because I don't want to risk contaminating the sponge. I could get a separate one just for metallics, but that's double the cost for some minimal benefits. Just going to get the back with those little aglety things on his level patches here. Again, it doesn't have to be super strong, just enough sort of like sell that there is a back. Yeah. I don't usually like putting black over gold, but I think we will do that. Brackets on his shoulder pad. Let's get that nice. Yeah, there's another thing I do like with Iron Warrior. It does make other things right next to it look so much brighter. Like, sure, there's a metallic base under this metallic colour. You just see how bright this gold looks next to it. It's such a nice colour. Yeah. Oh yeah. Really helps sell that there's an edge to this too. Like if I go back here, you can just see how like the light catches on the edge of it. It really helps make it look a bit 3D without actually having to do anything much else to it. I wouldn't, again, recommend doing a metallic on its own without any sort of additive, like a wash, or you can even use contrast colours to shade metallics sometimes, and that can be really nice. It's going from like that metallic to a flat, normal sort of satin colour really can help make some contrast, but yeah. Helps make things a little bit look a bit more real, because it sort of imitates how light would actually play off of an object that size, rather than just letting it be at the whim of a teeny amount of light on teeny tiny object. Which, well, I just fucked that up on that corner. Oh well, we'll paint over easy. Do I just shove this in and get those bullets coloured too? Yeah. Now it's going to be probably very dirty looking and very buried in washes by the time it's done, but it helps sell the fact that it's a bunch of bullets in a box. Didn't want to do anything else gold. I could do the handle on his knife, the pommel, like on the shirt. Yeah, I think I will. Just again. Helps just separate the parts out, make them look like actual different parts rather than just the same, lump of plastic. Now I promise this isn't going to all be orcs if I do this more regularly. I just happen to have an orc on hand that I wanted to paint. There we go. That's covered it quite nicely. Get a little bit up to the edge of the blade. There we go. Gonna have to do some covering up with some of the silver that I've already used, so it doesn't matter if I already get some of the gold on it. That is something that, how do I word this? So that's one of the nice advantages of doing an art, even as a hobby. You sort of end up teaching yourself some really weird little bits of life advice. Like I still kind of am. I used to be very, very anxious. Just in general, for various reasons I won't get into. But a lot of the anxiousness came from not wanting to make mistakes. But when I started painting, I started making all the mistakes that you could. Getting colours in the wrong places, trying to paint over a wash before it completely dried and all just turned into a cloudy mess. All sorts, any beginner mistake you could think of I made. Like not washing off a brush, coming back to it absolutely covered in dried gunky paint. That was especially annoying. But it did also teach me that you're going to make mistakes, so just get them out of the way. Learn how to fix those mistakes and suddenly they stop being issues, because even if it happens again, you know what you need to do to fix it. And then you can start thinking about how to do that in real life. Like, oh no, I accidentally said something that came out the wrong way. How do I fix this? Or, whoops, I accidentally did something that someone didn't like, or someone misinterpreted the wrong way. What do I do to fix that? And it's just sort of like the mindset that you want when you do art kind of applies to a lot of stuff outside of art too, which it's good practice. It's good practice. I'm waffling just for the sake of filling dead air right now. I'm not going to lie, but hey, it is something to say, isn't it? There's something to take from that. Where it's just like, yeah, just do something for its own sake, and the things you learn can be transferred to all sorts of bits and pieces of life. Social stuff or work, and suddenly life gets a lot less stressful. You sort of get a bit of perspective as well. It's like, I spend a lot of time on Twitter as an example, and Twitter lives up to its reputation. Having spent a good amount of time on Tumblr, Twitter lives up to its reputation. That should say something. But you can look at a lot of the things people argue about. A lot of the things. Some things are important. And just realise, wow, I don't give a shit. I can move on with my life. Someone doesn't like something that I do. Oh, okay, sure, whatever. You go do that. And I'll be over in my little corner doing my thing. As long as you don't come and attack me like a child, then we hunky-dory. You can dislike what I like. I can, as long as everything is harmless, no one's actually hurting anyone, just do whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm not validated by your approval. Random internet stranger. Yeah, that's a bit tidied up. I think, yeah, we'll get on to the lights now. That's mostly going to be his teeth, fingernails, the fluff, and his belt skull. Just a quick moment was I have another sip. Better. Better. But yeah, life skills via art. Ooh. I bet that sounds fucking pretentious, but it's true, and you can't tell me otherwise. Right, so thinking about it now, we've got a natural white in the fingernails and the teeth and the bone, because he does have a skull on his ass. And then we've got an artificial white in the emblem on his back and the emblem on his belt. So I'm going to break out a couple of newer favourites. Wraithbone, and is that Grey Seer? That's a Stratum. That's a Grey Seer. That's a Grey Seer. Grey Seer. Basically, our contrast bases, rather than an aerosol, they're just the pots. If you're used to the contrast range, you know these colours. They are so useful outside of contrast paints, just because they're off-whites. Means you could paint something white, base it in something other than a white, and still highlight it. Same reason that I went for Corvus Black over Abaddon Black. It doesn't cause that value crunch. Just going to get some of the Wraithbone on the palette. Yep. It gives us somewhere else for our colours to go. Also, I'm knocking lights again. Anyone knows the phrase, hit the lamp from Roger Rabbit, this ain't that. This is, like I said before, Dork with all. Right. So let us start with, hold on. Whew. Better? Okay. I don't know if I'm actually muting that because I'm still seeing some of the bars move on XSplit. That would be embarrassing. Yeah, let's start with artificial whites. And this covers fairly quickly, all things considered. That's why I freaking love these as well, because they're off whites. They're not actually whites. They just cover so much better. There we go. And with this being sort of a slightly bluish grey, also means that if we do put anything over it, it is going to have an overall different tone than if we were to use Wraithbone. So we can basically just swap out base coats, use the same highlights and washes, and it'll look different, which I think is just really useful. And then we've got the emblem on his back, which does look like it is hard metal in some places, like there's some rivets and some extra teeth bolted onto that lower jaw. So we may have to bring out some silver just to emphasise that. I'll cover the whole thing for now. And punch a light. I'm glad these were cheap. And then, because I can always fix it. Painting over white is easy. So it doesn't matter if I go a little bit wacky. It's just going to help define some of the shapes. Now I'm going to concentrate a little bit for this, keeping inside the edges. Because on top of my headset is constantly doing a little tiny pop. Just duck, duck. It's wonderful. I absolutely despise it. Also doesn't matter if I got a little bit on this on the black leather, because painting black over white is one of the easiest touch-ups to do in the world. It's difficult when you accidentally get the black on the white. That's the bit that makes it difficult. But that first step, got a little bit of his horn going underneath the shoulder pad. Obviously these aren't all the same item. Let's touch up the face again. And then I get that second horn. Saying that out loud did just sort of remind me of the Squigger boys, I think they're called. Basically just like the 40k orcs sort of tamed and used big squigs as mounts. Those things look like they're going to be fun. That's another thing that slightly tempted me about starting at Orcs again. It's like doing a mix of the buggies with Basically just feral-ish. Well, not feral, they do have some mechanical bits. They're just like more wild boys. Like, one of them even has a freaking spear and a rocket in the tip of it. Not as like a projectile. He just wants to probably stab you really fast. Which, you know, you do you, mate. Then again, April is going to bring an update to the Mechanicus, which I do have a small collection of. Mostly Skatari, and a Dune Crawler, and a Magos. Mostly a sort of like a little auxiliary with some Imperial Knights I've got, but I do like my Mechanicus. Anyone who knows me personally is probably not surprised by that fact at all. If they were a faction when I started 40k, they probably would have been the first faction I picked up rather than Necrons, which I am loving the updates they got too. There is some wacky stuff. I do like that they introduced a new kind of destroyer, which are like the really old raves. And before they were crazy centipede machines, you were just Necrons where they chopped their legs off and replaced them with like a really long spine. And there's a new kind of destroyer that looks just like that. There's also a new kind of destroyer that has legs, which is weird. I think they're Scorpack, which do look cool, I will admit. I just really like the old school destroyers that are like floating sentient weapon platforms, and there is a new heavy destroyer that's like that. Oh, look at that. Face paint to my hand is streamed. Which does look cool, and we'll probably make a really cool base for like Destroyer Lord. It's because he's rather chunky and buff looking. That's a conversion I might actually try, because I do like converting Necrons. There's something about them. It's like, they're not complicated, they've got really obviously segmented parts, which means if you want to do some chopping and changing, you've got some really clear seams to work with. Who knows, if I can get this to function properly, I might actually do some on-stream conversions. I do like converting my models. That is something that I will decry, the Primaris range, as much as I am fine with them. It is a lot harder to customize with them. Partially down to the fact that their torsos and their legs are all one part. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Again, I hope that doesn't show up. I am pressing the mute button on my mic. I am seeing the soundbar still move. But yeah, just the fact that their torsos, for the most part, and their legs are all one part. Okay. Just makes it a lot harder to customize. Sometimes you want a custom chest plate to make someone look a bit fancier, or you want to just modify the pose by like twisting the waist a little bit. And I do miss that, but at the same time, it does make them look better as like built out of the box models, because like old school Marines, they'd always just look a little squat and static. But yeah, it's a trade. You're never gonna win it. It is just a fact that comes with anything. You make sacrifice something to get a different benefit. Oh well, it's just the modern ethos, ain't it? And the modern ethos is also what gave us frickin' the new what's the name of the lizard man wizard? The croak guy. Like, that thing looks frickin' amazing. He's sitting there in a frickin' Ori, I believe they're called. But, well, it's all like a mix of like a centrifuge and an Ori. Like the spinny circles that go around in all sorts of different dimensions, and then an Ori are like those little mechanical models with solar systems, where each ring moves at a different speed to show the different orbits of different planets. And that really fits in with like the stargazing astrology side of Lizardmen magic, and it looks freaking cool, and it looks a lot better than mummified frog in a chair. As much as that old model does have a lot of the same handmade charm, shall we call it, of a lot of the older GW stuff, I know what I like, and old school charm has its place. But yeah, it's really tempting to paint that. It's tempting to paint frickin' Be'lakor as well. He looks frickin' sweet. Let's get the skull on the back of his pistol too. Downside of Be'lakor is with him being mostly black, especially with those massive wings, painting him on stream wouldn't be too easy. It'd be an easy paint job. The freaking community tutorial that they put up a couple days ago made a really sweet looking paint job with just some simple dry brushing and just using a few shades of grey, and the sword came out looking really good. That was the only complicated part, was the sword, and it's just made it really tempting. And then just don't put a dead model on the base. And I don't know, I'm sure I can think of a use for a dead space marine. Not like I friggin' don't already have one over here that I plan to use as an objective marker. Poor little guy has a plasma pistol blow up on him. That's why you don't overcharge your plasma pistols, folks. That was 40k PSA. Oh god, that was an awful rhyme. This is why I don't talk while I'm painting, because this is the nonsense that comes out when I'm not having to think. Could tone up the fluff on the back of his head. It's a little sketchy and chalky. Yeah, that's come out alright. And those are just artificial whites. I know I'm going to need a bit more Wraith Bone considering the amount of extra grace here I just needed to add to the palette during that, so let's preempt that. That's probably watered down quite a bit just from sitting on the palette all that time. I don't need to rinse my brush. So let us get onto them teeths. That's where I actually need to concentrate just a little bit, just to make sure I don't get it all over his face. It looked like he ate a really messy ice cream. Well, it also helps show up where some of those gums are for when it's going to be the lips anyway. Yeah, it's going to help show where the gums are for when I do come in with the Scream of Pink. I think, unless we hit the 2-hour mark before that, I'd call that my last step that I do tonight. Because as much as I would love to paint for God knows how many hours, I have a spine. So I can only paint for so long before I need to not. That has led to many interrupted painting sessions in my own private time. It's like, yeah, I'll paint for a few hours and then stop, eat, do something else for a little bit. I'll be 2 in the morning. It's like I could paint again, and then before you know it, it's 4 or 5 in the morning, and you've almost finished the model. And you know if you paint for that a little bit longer, you can finish it off. And then before you know it, it's been another 45 minutes. You think I could just do that little thing there, do a little touch up there. Before you know it, it's 7. And then you don't know what you're doing with your life. Let's get them fingies. These will be a bit simpler because they're just big old chunky points. Smallest fingernail is about as big as his biggest tooth. Yeah. Kind of does make it look like he's got a bit of a manicure, but we're gonna dirty them up. Let's brace this properly. Can we see this? I'm practically hugging my phone right now. This is what a lot of the newspaper cartoonists think millennials are actually like. I actually can't see his other fingers. There we go. That's helped. And I'm just going to get that all over the places where I shouldn't. Going to make some more work for myself in the long run, but he got his fingies painted, didn't it? Now let's get the skull on. This should be a bit simpler. I've already managed to get some, whilst saying that, on his jacket. But, whoops, my finger slipped. Yeah, it's looking okay. It's got the underside. Probably going to need to do another layer on some of the larger parts. I'm just going to put this being a little paler than the grace here. But that second layer just takes moments. especially when I know I'm going to be doing washes and things over the top of this. It doesn't need to be a perfect base layer. I prefer it to be. It doesn't need to be. Sometimes having that little bit of built-in texture can really help sell something with a natural surface, if that's what you're going for. It's like some people actually do sort of go the watercolor method and use the tide marks of like washes and watered down paints to help create effects. There we go. He is actually looking a little bit more Santery with that white added, which is funny. Right, 125. I hate to impose a time limit, but I do only intend to paint for another half an hour, so we'll go up until 9 o'clock. Where do I want to go next? I think I'll do a little bit of tidying up on the skin. Hold on. This brush is getting a little gnarly. So let me just get the soap. This stuff, also a lifesaver. Like, there's the brand. And it smells like pine. And let me put it this way. Underneath this cutting mat, there's still the occasional splodge of paint. It used to be a lot worse until when cleaning this monstrosity with this stuff, as you can see the size, there was a lot of spillage. There was a lot of lava just spilling out the side, getting on over the place, getting all over my desk. And then suddenly, those ancient month-to-year-old splotches of paint just started lifting off. Not melting. It wasn't. I don't know how it works. It wasn't a complete chemical reaction like with a solvent, but it just helps lift it off of anything it's stuck to. And I don't know how it does it. There's no ingredient list. It doesn't smell bad. It apparently cleans oils, waters, acrylics, and stains. I don't know. It's great stuff. I got it off of Amazon for fairly cheap. There's probably a million other places you can get it, but hey, we were in a lockdown at the time. It's just good stuff. There's so many things I could recommend if people wanted any painting tips. They don't, not for like just base level hobby, but you wanted to go that little bit further. Go green on the palette, and it just. Oh, I just realised I managed to get some. Wow. Okay, I don't know what I managed to do down here, but I messed it up. It's going to be a few different colours to clean that up. That's why it's always good to inspect your model. You don't know when you've got random paint smears just brushing up accidentally against certain parts. Let's get the bottom of his tummy is still a little grey. There we go. Show off that gut. Where else? Probably his lips. Really help tidy that up. And a lot of this is just brush control. Ooh, there's a little bit of his face that got some of the white on. A little bit of the white that didn't even cover where I meant it to. So we're gonna have to go back through everything a little bit, do some touch-ups. Get him on his jaw. Can't see it too well on camera, but it's like the underneath of his jaw. Yes, could use some of the black from the leather on this. Some of the white. That's mostly fine. His hand. It's got a little bit of red on it, which I don't want. Not screwing the pink stage just yet. Let me get a better look at this hand. This is hitting my arm a little bit. With the edge of his fingers. There we go. Just create a strong separation between his finger and his nail. Be useful. Same on this hand. I don't know how well some of this I'm looking at is showing up on camera, but I'm certainly seeing it in front of me. Bit of his bicep, so it's in black. Perfect. There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. A little bit of gold on his tummy actually from when I painted the bullets. There we are. I had to say it, but sorry, hate to say it, but cleaning up a model like this is probably the most boring part of a paint job. Needs doing. I don't care who you are, you could be freaking Picasso. If you've not got strong borders between parts of your model, it's just gonna like look like a colourful mess rather than anything. Like you put something like just messy down on the table and step away as if you were playing a game, and if you can't make out anything on the model, probably need some tidying up and a bit of contrast push. Because what's the point in painting another model to look nice if you can't see it from at least arm's length away? Especially when the RD is tiny. There we go, to find the border around the skull. And then the mess around this. Thankfully I put away too much on the palette, so I've got plenty of spare corvus. There we go. Probably the largest single area that's been blocked out on this guy, so it made sense that I had a lot of the paint out. Let's get that under the horn. This bit's inside the jaw. I'm not going to even try to make sure that's on camera because that would be a nightmare otherwise. There we go, it's looking a bit sharper. I'll just get all around. Doesn't matter if I get a little bit of a black on the edge because I could just put a little bit of silver on there to make it look like it's been chipped or something. Yeah, that's looking better. Clean up the brown next, because that's going to be another one to clean up. Do I have enough on the palette? Oh yeah, that's plenty. Just see a little bit of the white from his teeth got onto his ear flap. A little bit of the white from the fluff getting onto his boot. There we go. Same on this one. Just got a little bit into that fold, into that crevice. Upside of there not being much brown in this model. It's define his belt a little bit more. If it actually goes over the edge. Get that over the face. A little bit of the silver and gold spilled onto these flaps. I don't even know what you would call these. I'm sure like the Roman soldiers had something similar, but this is an orc. He ain't going to care what the Romans did. Doesn't even probably know what a Roman is. It's the irony of saying that when there's a Goth clan, and well, we know what the Goths did to the Romans, don't we? Kids at home taking their their history classes. I'm sure that's the last thing people want to think about right now. Clean up the red next. Plenty on the palette. Just going to spill some water, but it's fine. This is why we get a jar instead of a mug. My nose is starting to run a little bit from all this talking. This is why we wanted to do a short stream. There we go. Let's get another layer on there just to reinforce the colour. A little bit on the back of his leg. There we go. And just a quick bit of a brush on this bracelet. You know, I cleaned the brown and then I forgot. It's a disaster. So let's just touch that up. I might need any more paint. That's the upside of a paint palette, a wet palette even, as I knock him over with my brush. The only time you really need to go back to the pot is when you need more paint. Man, it is blue outside now. There we go. Oh yeah, yeah. Much better. And it's just the silvers we have to clean to get rid of the last of that splodge, which we will do probably last, considering it's a metallic, just to make sure there's no cross-contamination. I know this white needed a bit of cleaning. The texture of the fluff sort of made it a bit harder to get into the crevices. Especially on the side of them. It doesn't look on camera when I do that. Yeah, that's good to know. It doesn't just look like a blip out of existence. You actually do see him rotate. I tend to have itchy fingers. When I know I'm about to rotate something, my fingers are like, I'm gonna do it. Gonna do it. It's the stupid things that make me laugh. Right, where else? I know somewhere needs cleaning. I saw something. Metallics. Anything other than them. I think it is just the metallics. Let's break out the Iron Warrior again. Looks like we might get to the Screamer Pink stage just to show off what it does, which is good. I do like getting to show off random neat tricks I found or use. I just realised, there's still a bit of his skin that's getting covered up, and that honestly just probably needs another layer. Don't know if it shows up too well, but it does look a little splotchy. Just to get some gold on the blade and on that screw there. Chain is looking relatively okay. Just do another layer just to be sure. Edge of his helmet. That's there we are. That's better. Other than that, the pistol's fine, boots are fine. Nothing else. Yeah. Do you see, actually, a detail that I could use to highlight a little bit? Just the rings that these bullets are threaded onto. There is a necklace there. I'm going to do that brown. I'm going to do that after the Screamer Pink stage, just as a bit of tidying. I did just notice a bit of his jacket has some white on it. A little bit of an earlier mess. Just don't put too much there. And there we go. So yeah, grab a bit more skin tone to get the bottom of his hand there. It's also weird that I'm doing this all with the same brush. Right, usually you'd want to be swapping back and forth between different paintbrush sizes. Make some things easier, but I'm being lazy today. Well, I say lazy. There's a difference between lazy and efficient. If I can do the same job by expending less effort, that is literally the definition of efficiency. There's some light underneath the brim of his head that I missed. So we'll just get that. Especially anywhere on the face that you see needs fixing. I don't care if it's tucked away. It's going to probably be seen at some point. This isn't really in focus, but this is a really awkward angle. Yeah, much better. There we go. Looking solid. Yeah, so far that's an hour and 40 minutes of work. It sounds like a lot more than it is. Mostly because this guy's got a lot of little bits and details on him. Let's just grab a little bit of paint and get that second layer on the skull. If it was something like a Space Marine, I might actually paint one of my Lamenters next, because I've got some company veterans that could do with a paint job. Well, I figured out a quick way to do those, at least the main bulk of their colour. Mostly just using contrast paints as if they were washes, which I think comes out... It looks messy and blotchy, but it's like messy and blotchy in a way that looks like dirt rather. It looks like it's on purpose, basically. Yeah. Which, honestly, that's half of the way you fix a mistake. You make it look like it's on purpose. I'll tell you what we need to actually paint the colour that I'm going to create. Don't want to do it green, because he's an orc, he's already green. We don't need more green on this model. I might just do it black, because I'm probably going to base this guy with the same sort of cracked earth thing they do with everyone else. So having that black up against the sort of sandy, dirty ochre is probably going to stand out a fair bit. Yeah. This paint has been on the palette for a while, so it's actually like, it's thin, but it's covering so much better than I thought it would after being on the palette for so long. Just keep in mind, this is the second paint that we used tonight. There we go. I'll just bring in a little bit of silver for some of the latches. Just add a little bit of variance to my box. Yeah. It's looking alright. Alright. And then the messed up part, I'm gonna work on this one of my last steps, I don't need to worry about that just yet. Yeah, there we go. The most boring part of this guy is the box. And yeah, just grab a little bit. I don't mind if this is a little wet. Just get a little bit off. A little bit too much on my brush there. There we go. This is going to help make that look like a separate piece. I could probably break out the corvus again, because he does have the sole of his boots, which I have forgotten to paint. Also, his heels look like they've got caps on them too, so I might just have to break out the metallic again, just to get that sorted. There we go. Boot sole. Who'd have thought shoes would have so much detail? Who'd have thought orcs would have so much detail in the friggin' shoes? Doesn't matter too much if that's messy, you're not going to see half of it. There we go. Again, it probably doesn't show up too well on camera, but like, the bottom of his sole being a little bit darker, it does help it look like it's actually made of something. I do see actually. Is that a little bit of spillover on the silver? No, that's just the edge. Okay. But I was seeing something there. I do also see some of the bits we could do silver, like on his holster right there. So we'll just do that. Get some of the teeth silver on the back of his emblem. There we go. Just get that. There is also another button up here, which I will wait until after we've done the washes and things to get, because it's such a small detail, it's just going to get buried. Otherwise, meanwhile, these big flat panels will show up just fine. And then it's got a couple of bolted on teeth on his jacket. Which the last one is going to be a little fiddly, isn't it? He tacks up a little bit. Again, bolt there, bolt on the horns, save those for later. He did get to the bottom of his pistol grip, good. I might just do another layer on the gold, because it's gold, but you can just see some places where it's a little thinner, and thin gold paint over a black just looks kind of green. Like, I'm sure greeny gold is a thing, but like, it's not what I'm after. Don't know if it's showing too well on his holster there. You can see that bit of texture. Pardon me, where it gets a bit darker. I'll work on that up. Even if the bit of texture is still there, at least having one coherent colour will make it look a little nicer. go again. Let's do another quick little brush over on this buckle. Just another quick layer over these necklace bullets. The tassels over the bullets in the box. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a super consistent layer. Like, as long as it's mostly the same colour, you can go pretty loosey-goosey, and it'll still look fine. Right. Yeah, that is where we are at currently. I do see a little bit of his lip there is still white, which bugs the hell out of me. Let's see if I can't get that. Just spill over. There we go. Covers up in a second. There's the bottom of his lip too. Just to help separate those out. There we go. It's probably something that would have been hidden by a wash, but screw it. He does have a buckle on his wristband. Gonna see if I can quickly sneak that in. Just want to get more of the details based. Yeah, I can see it. Let's get those blocked in. Tiny detail, you can probably only just about see the difference in like the glimmer. Maybe closer. But you can see that that is a buckle. It's got like a little pin that you thread through a hole in the belt. I think, other than some little straps of brown holding up the skull, no, that's fine, and the strap for his necklace, we have the base coat in 1 minute 50. Not bad, not bad. So these last 10 minutes, I am going to show a little bit of this Scream of Pink technique. So I've had it at the side since the start of the stream, since I mentioned it, and then just didn't use it. So, plan for this is fairly simple. I'm not going to use the wet palette for a start. I am just going to use, not this, I'll use the top of the lid. Ignore that, of the palette to show it off. Just get a little bit of water, a little bit of the paint, mix it up, and then we want this fairly thin. It's a little bit hard to see on the plastic because of how it likes to bead up, but that's more like it. Where it's starting to sort of, you can see the strokes in the paint. It's what we want. So, rinse off the brush again, make it dry. Ignore the fact that I'm using my pajama bottoms to dry my brush. And then we just want to touch it to places we want a bit pink. Make sure we don't have a whole lot on our brush, just enough for it to want a capillary. So if I just dab it on, I'm going to put on just a little bit more than I need to, because then we can, what are my words, we can cover it up later. Going to get, honestly, most of his face. It's not showing up amazingly well on camera, but I'm seeing it in person. It is one of those things where it doesn't look like much when it's wet, but when it's dry, it is, well, it's still not amazingly there, but the subtlety is noticeable. And most of the armpit, and on the bicep. It's a big old working muscle. This bicep especially for that vein. Just going back, grabbing a little bit of the wet paint and dabbing it on. There. Probably got a bit too much on the face there. Let's see if I can't pick some of it up. Yeah. Make sure it's gone into his eye holes too, in his ears. His ears are going to be quite blood filled and thin. And this is going to shrink as it dries. So it looks like it's covering a lot more than it will finally in the end. Let's walk around his elbows, in his other armpit, because that's going to be more warm under there. Probably really sweaty too, but I'm not going to use a gloss or anything for that. This is gross. We ain't Nurgle. It's looking glossy now, just because it's obviously wet paint. And then back of his hands with these deep ridges for his knuckles, looking really good for catching that. Both hands, because he is gripping both of those quite tight. It does sort of make the green look a bit funky. Like, you've got that pinky purpley colour next to green, and they sort of almost cancel each other out a little bit. Well, you can already see on his belly here, where it's dried, it's a lot more subtle. And it does add just that little bit of warmth. It almost looks like bruising. It'll look a little bit more deep once we've got the other layers for the skin on. I'm also going to get just under his pecs and just at the base of his neck. Don't need to go crazy through his neck because we can barely see it. So we'll just join those up there and there on both arms. Doesn't matter if we apply too much. Pardon me. Doesn't matter if we apply too much. We can just cover it up again later. Yeah, I think just a little bit joining up his brow. Get a little bit in his little pinky nose. And I think that's him pinked up. Again, it's not showing up amazingly. It's actually made his skin look really dark on camera. Again, just because of the contrast. Like if you compare fist finger to like his face, like that almost looks the same as the leather on his jacket. But I think we're where we wanted to be at for today's stream. We still have about 8-10 minutes left over, but I'm going to count that as a bonus because we did it slightly faster than we thought. I'll probably take a photo of this, pop it up on Twitter, just to show what we did today. I say it as if it was you guys too. I mean, I don't know, maybe you helped, but yeah, I think we did all right. It's still a bit of a growing pain in terms of the stream. Gonna have to look up how to get music playing. Thankfully, I was able to talk enough to fill some of the dead air, but I did it. This is something I've been dreading to do for a while, but I did it. And that's the important part right now, at least for me. I don't know about you, but for me, I did it. And hopefully I can stream a bit more regularly, other than the last time I streamed, which was a year ago, and it was watching me play pirates badly in Magic. Alright, so, with that, I think we can call it for today. Thank you so much again for coming and watching, especially for Pixel, who stuck with me and helped me out a little bit with some technical difficulties. Again, just keep it to a couple hours, just for the sake of sanity, as I get used to the idea of doing this. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you can come next time.